Ebrahim has grown his marketing agency to over 600,000 a year with a focus on scaling with simplicity and sustainability to create a life of true freedom. He is a breathwork facilitator, YouTuber, and host of the Conscious Entrepreneur podcast. His conscious approach to business, life, and relationships has caught the attention of many well-known creators and business owners in the online space. This episode is a gem with a central theme around how your inner state creates your outer reality. It is for anyone looking to build a business that is in alignment with their core values. We also go deep on how your depth of presence is the most attractive trait a modern man can possess and develop. Enjoy this one, guys. Where you are right now is such a gift. It's such a gift that you have the opportunity to be struggling. It's such a gift to be in your current position so that you get to do the necessary inner work and grow. So why is pain a gift? And how did you come to this realization?
First of all, was this from online or was this on the mountain?
Bit of both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, why don't we talk about it in the context of the mountain climb?
Yeah, go on.
I think that would be good to just set the scene for people, or how we recently got to connect. So you invited me and a few other people to go and climb a mountain. A couple of days before, I think last week before last, you said, "Hey, Ebrahim, we're going to go on this 3-hour hike. Feel free to come along. We're just going to go climb this mountain." I was like, okay, it sounds good. I've never really done a hike like that, but I know Tom's done a lot of hiking. What a great opportunity to just go and be in nature, reconnect. So, show up, get maybe 5 hours of sleep, bring 800 milliliters of water. Jaden grabbed me a couple of granola bars because I was on calls till midnight the night before. We turn up and 2 other friends come who were on 0 hours sleep. 5 minutes into the walk, the lovely lady said, "I don't know if I can do this." Bearing in mind, we've just started walking up to climb an entire mountain for the day. As that escalates, she starts throwing up, crying, which is something that we all have to deal with. Maybe 2 hours in, we're climbing the mountain, we're cut up by this point, we're bruised, we're already running low on water. Things aren't looking too good at this point. You suggest we could talk about
Yeah, we can talk about it. Yeah.
Let's take some shrooms. I'm like, okay, well, here's another opportunity where we're already in pain, but there's an opportunity to maybe go deeper here. Let's take some shrooms.
Yeah.
You suggested it in a very light-hearted, fun tone. We take some shrooms, and that's where the real journey began.
Oh boy.
That's where the vision quest started. If for anyone who gets to climb a mountain with Tom, I would highly, highly recommend doing it for a multitude of reasons, which I'll get into in a second. But we start climbing this mountain, and at this point, I think the group's split into two. We think, probably that those other guys probably aren't going to make it. They're probably just going to turn back. That's okay. Everyone's still going to be safe. Everyone's healthy. It's fine. We did realize at this point we'd seen no other human beings apart from some 2 German hiking enthusiasts who we were pretty certain were also on shrooms, who we saw walking barefoot through the mountain.
Yep.
So that was maybe one sign that this was going to be a struggle for the day. But, at this point, we're still doing okay. We're only 3 hours in. We asked them how far to the top. They say, we're thinking it's 20 minutes, 30 minutes away. Oh, yeah, 2-3 hours until you get there. I think that was where it kind of hit. You proceeded to just take off your shoes, and we continued. And long story short, 3 of us make it to the top, and it was such a beautiful metaphor for life, because once we got there, it wasn't the euphoric feeling that I think a lot of people expect. If you had never climbed a mountain, absolutely there is a huge sense of achievement, but because you've already gone through all of the journey to get there, you just, by the time you get there, you're already accustomed to being there. Right? It's like if you've earned success in your life versus being given it, by the time you've got that $1 million, it's not a surprise because you've done all of the work to go and make $1 million. So in the same way climbing this mountain, it was this beautiful moment, this achievement, but we're also like, well, yeah, we deserve to be here. We just climbed for 6-7 hours straight, right?
Yeah.
We then find the others, all descend together through pitch black for half of it. You're carrying this lovely lady half of it because she physically can't move her body anymore. Jaden's knees look like they're going to literally explode. He's got severe knee problems. None of us have any water. And from the outside, it sounds bad. It sounds like, why would you want to do that? That was one of the best experiences I had in the entire year. Probably one of the top experiences I've had in my life. Why is that the case? Many, many reasons, but to loop back around to your original question, it was the pain and the gift of suffering. As men in particular, but this does apply to everyone, we live in a world where things are so easy. We can have long black or Americano coffee brought directly to us without us having to do anything. We can curate our life in the most amazing way, which is great. What a gift and an opportunity. But we lose the opportunity of the struggle. And that is actually where, if you want to talk about happiness, I think the only way to get happiness is through struggling, because it's the only way that things become worth it. So coming off that mountain, number one, genuinely, the fact that we all made it back healthy and there were no serious injuries, that was a gift in itself. 13 hours later, after coming back on that mountain, we all made it back healthy and we all managed to return back together. What a gift, right? It resets the balance of what is good, what is not good in our head, right? So I think by intentionally finding struggle in our life, and I try to do this on a daily basis, it has just made me a much more peaceful and happy person. These are qualities I've observed in you as well, and I can see it very clearly in you. You know, you've had some demons, some of them that you shared with me, and I can see very clearly that by going on these challenging excursions has been one of the ways you've been able to navigate through them. And so I forget the original question.
So it's, I guess what's interesting, you kind of touched on there, is like you get to know yourself and you get to know where you are when you're struggling. And I kind of like view it as like getting to a fork, and it's like I can be the bitch or I can do the thing that's hard. And it's kind of finding that fork and practicing making the decision that the struggle, and practicing that. So I'm curious, kind of in your day to day, because obviously like we can't be doing the mountain climb every day, as much as I might like to. It's not really an option. How do you go about that day to day, ensuring that you are struggling to build your confidence and so you can show up how you need to show up?
Yeah, I've thought a lot about this, and one of the things that I'll give some practical things. One of the things I observe people say about me is you seem really like at peace. And I absolutely wasn't this way. So I spent some time looking at, okay, like why is that the case now? Because I was extremely anxious, extremely self-conscious, super insecure, negative thought loops, depression at times, anxiety most of the time, cared about what everyone else thought about me, how I was perceived, what women thought of me, scared of being rejected. So how did I go from having all of that to having a more peaceful way of life? It's not an end point. It's a continual day-to-day practice. And it's really simple. It's leaning into the things that suck, right? That's the most simple way I can put it. We spend most of our life running away from difficult things, whether they're physical, external things like summiting a mountain, right? It's a great metaphor for life, right? Or the internal struggles, like the ones I just described. And so the practice is recognizing when these challenges come up internally and leaning into them. That is really what I would describe as the most important part of a spiritual journey. It is realizing that suffering is the gift of life. And the Buddha said it best, right? Life is suffering. So that was how it happened. And that was how I give you a quick story. Like that was how my whole journey started, right? As a young man, as an 18, 20-year-old man, what did I want to do? I wanted to make 10 or 20K a month. I wanted to have my penthouse apartment. I wanted to have a girlfriend. I wanted to be able to go out and party and be the man. And I, for whatever reason, did those things in my early 20s. And I realized, for me personally, they led to a life of just deep unfulfillment and self-hatred, self-sabotage, to the point where I was, during COVID at one point, I was in Greece, sitting on top of an Airbnb with a glass of wine, looking at the sunset, And it's literally, if you looked at it from the external, that is a you've made it moment, like with my girlfriend at the time. And I was so deeply anxious and insecure and worried about the future, because everything I'd created, talk about being a creator, came from the energy of fear. And so the thing is that, you know, we have fear motivation / push, and then we have pull motivation or inspiration, right? We have these two motivations. Now, the fear push motivation is strong, it's powerful, it can get you going, but it's dangerous to rely on that fuel source. It's like using coal. You can use coal to fuel the fire, but at some point, you're probably going to get cancer because you're breathing in smoke all day, right? And it's kind of the same thing as being driven by this push or this scarcity or this fear-based motivation, which is the vast majority of humanity. So I recognized that's what was driving me. And first of all, I was grateful for that because I was able to use it, but everything I'd created was built off this foundation of fear.
Yeah.
And this is what most people, I don't think, really grasp, because they see, okay, well, look, I don't want to let go of that because it's got me this far. Yes, that's true. But internally, you're living a life where you're actually killing yourself. Internally, you're creating stress in the body. You're physically going to live a shorter life because of the biological effects of that. You're going to be suffering inside internally for your whole life because of that. And so it was at that moment when I was sitting on the top roof of the Airbnb that I had basically a breakdown. And so that was how my spiritual awakening happened. It was through immense suffering. And that caused me to say, all right, there has to be a different way.
Yeah.
There just has to be. I refuse to accept that this is I've made it by what every online guru had told me. I had made it.
Yeah.
And I was fucking miserable. So that was how I found the journey. And so this spiritual journey, the funny thing is, when I talk to guys about this, they think it's like this thing for women. And I'm like, bro.
Well, you mean spirituality?
Yeah. They think it's like a women's, because more women are into it, right? Because they're more in touch with their emotions and stuff like that. But I'm like, man, if you're such an alpha male, why are you scared of your own emotions?
Yes.
And then they're like, oh, fuck. And it always hits when I say that.
Yeah.
And that's where the real juice lies, you know?
Yeah.
If you want to be a masculine man, learn the feminine side of you, right? If you want to truly understand yourself and suffering, go internally, sit with those, sit in silence for 10 minutes. There's a study done that showed they tested just men, and said, would you rather sit in silence for 10 minutes in a room alone or be electrocuted? More men said they'd rather be electrocuted.
I can believe that.
So that is how fearful we are of our own thoughts and feelings. And that's why we suffer.
Man, there's so much there in everything you just said. And there's so many different directions I want to take this. And I think we're going to loop back round. I also want to ask you about the year you became a woman as well, but I'm going to ask you about that in a bit and make sure I get the right pronouns as well. But first of all, you said kind of leaning into the suffering. And I know we both read Way of the Superior Man. From there, they'd say, lean just beyond your edge. Yep. Kind of like lean just beyond your edge. And I think that's a really nice way to look at it. And I love this thing that as a man, if you're not doing something every day that's uncomfortable, then why should you be confident in yourself? That's something I saw from one of your videos. And it's that, exactly like you said, with, are you comfortable with your feelings? What is, because I've been there. I don't want to be with myself. I'll run away. And a lot of me finding nature over the last few years, it's because I was kind of running from myself. I was like, I don't like being with myself, so let's just get away from everyone and everything. And then you realize that, oh, I'm still here. Oh shit, I got to deal with this shit, but at least I'm on my own, so no one can see it. But what do you think guys can do to initially allow those things in, and understand that this is important for their growth as a man? And kind of, because you said like, the spirituality thing is for the chicks. That's kind of a perception. So how would you kind of reframe that for guys to be like, hey, this is like the most masculine thing you can be doing is like getting in touch with your emotions and understanding those. They're going to power you. How would you suggest that guys get into that? And initially, if it is that scary that they'd rather be electrocuted?
Yeah, so I'll start with something that happened recently. I was on Hamza's podcast, and the intention of that podcast, he's a personal development YouTuber, if anyone doesn't know him. The purpose of that podcast, it was me and my girlfriend, and it was to talk about like relationships, spirituality, that kind of stuff. And we told the story of how we'd met, and he asked her, what was the thing that most stood out about Ebrahim for you? Because she was living in LA at the time. I was living in Bali. Within 6 weeks of us meeting online, she had sold up everything and had moved to Bali with me. Within 6 weeks, that was and it felt completely normal. So he asked her, what was the thing that made you do that, right? Because it sounds like kind of crazy, to be honest, right? Like it's an all-in moment, right?
Yeah.
And she said, simple, presence. So how do you...
Your presence.
My presence.
Your depth of presence.
Yeah. So
And you've not met? Or physically?
we hadn't met physically, no. The first time we met, she actually came on my podcast. So that was my best strategy of all time. Still like the amount of guys I've started podcasts after I've told them this, it's great. It works a charm. Thankfully, I was also very interested in what she did as well. There were multiple intentions. But when we turned on Zoom, we literally sat there and just looked at each other for like 15 seconds. The first time we've ever met, we just literally didn't have words to describe this feeling. And so presence was the most attractive thing that she found about me. Okay, so first of all, there's your carrot if you're a man listening to this.
Yes.
Why do you want to go on this spiritual journey? Well, if you want to be deeply attractive to a woman, because think about it, right? We're told, what are we told to be a man, right? Okay, get in good shape, make loads of money, be able to provide, security, have options, be, socially, have a good social life. And these are all, don't get me wrong, these are absolutely important things that we must do. And they're like the groundwork, the fundamentals. But a lot of guys are doing that, right? So if you want to look at this from I need my edge, from that perspective, then what are most guys not? They're not in touch with their emotions. They don't know how to be present with a woman. They don't know how to listen, truly listen to a woman. Because these are all things that are felt, and you can't learn feelings logically from a course or from a YouTube video. You have to go through it. It's an energetic exchange that just happens by your presence. And that's what I love about it, because you can't hide that, you can't finesse that, you can't put on a character. You've either gone through that deep work or you haven't yet. And so that's how I would frame it, first of all. It's easy to go one way or another, which is where it became a woman thing, which we can get into at some point. But that's what I would say as the framing. The how to that is really simple. You lean in to the uncomfortable thoughts and feelings. So my thing I say is your internal state equals your external reality. What is so as within is without, right? Most people can understand that. What is your internal state comprised of? If we had an equation, right? Your internal state is equal to your thoughts, your feelings, and really your environment. Those are the things that affect what's going on internally. That internal state is what creates your external reality, aka your physical reality. So an example with me, when I created that life success based off a very fearful, lack-based internal state, the physical manifestation was this thing's going to come falling down like a house of cards, which it did. Right, lost half my clients within 48 hours as a result of me just continually thinking and fearing that happening. Yes. So I manifested that in the negative. People only think about manifestation in terms of positive. We're manifesting all the time. We can take out the spiritual woo-woo from it. We're always manifesting, right? In every moment. So the first step is simply to be able to sit with those emotions, and all you have to do is, and it sounds simple, but it's not easy, is to sit there and to allow these things to come up and stop distracting yourself. Whether it's a negative, like a destructive pattern, whether it's alcohol, whether it's porn, whether it's sleeping with loads of women, video games, or you can have positive distractions like work, right? Like socializing, like even being in nature, right? There's so many benefits to that, but it depends on the intention and where it's coming from, right? So really the key here is if you can just sit down in a room by yourself for a few minutes and truly just be with that discomfort and allow it to pass, because it will pass. Usually it takes about 90 seconds for an emotion to fully move through, which isn't a very long time. Can you sit with something for 90 seconds? I think anyone can do that. Then it will pass. An example of that is when we did the breath work, when you came to mine and Maggie's one. That was like climbing a mountain, right? It was a more intense version of it. Stuff comes up and you're there. Someone's standing over you, so you kind of have to face it, right? So doing things like breath work, particularly if you're in a setting, or climbing a mountain where you're being guided by you, there's only one option. You have to do it. So that's a great starting point. But then after you've done that, okay, how can you do this yourself? And that the most simple way is you don't need any fancy equipment. You don't need a fancy course. You don't spend any money. Just sit there, be with your thoughts and feelings, and let them come up. Feel the pain of them, and they will pass. And through that, you will evolve.
Pain's the greatest teacher, right?
Yeah.
First off, the breathwork session that I did with you and your lovely girlfriend was amazing. Oh man, it was amazing. Very blessed that you held that space, that open space for guys, and it was mainly guys.
Yeah, that was mostly entrepreneurs.
Yeah,
that one, it was interesting. Yeah,
really interesting. And you held that space for whatever they needed, and that was awesome.
We all know that Instagram is the new business card. It is your portal to the world and it is the world's portal to you. The way things are going, if you're not online, you're going to be left behind over the next few years. So whether it's for networking, your business, or even relationships, your Instagram says everything about how seriously you're taking yourself and your work. It's where you invite people into your world. If you're a modern creator and you're looking to grow and scale your personal brand, you want to get paid more to be yourself and offer your unique value. You want to connect with other like-minded creators and build something that you are deeply proud of. You've become fatigued of everyone offering magic solutions online, and you actually just want to focus on delivering your unique value and what actually works. You want to connect with real creators, real artists, and real entrepreneurs. That is exactly why I launched Modern Creator. We work on your unique positioning to make you one of one and a key person of influence in your specific niche. We optimize your socials to gain attention and then convert that attention into paying clients. And we focus on creating a value-driven brand that doesn't rely on pushy sales techniques. So it's for long-term creators playing long-term games. You are looking to grow with other creators and create a deep impact while scaling your income. Click the link in the description to find out more about how to join Modern Creator, or feel free to reach out to me on Instagram and I can give you more details about how to join.
Your inner world creates your outer world. Now, I've been reading a bit of Neville at the moment. It's quite complicated. Like, I have to view it through a few different lenses. And you talk about your thoughts kind of lead to your feelings and your environment. This is kind of all of the things that are affecting the inner world that then produces the outer world. And it can sound woo-woo.
Yeah.
People are like, shut the fuck up. I've got stuff to do. And talking about feelings, as for guys as well, which we often push away, I think understanding that we are feeling all the time. We are feeling. And one of the things from Neville is that your feelings are imprinting on, your subconscious is malleable, but your feelings are printing onto that. So whatever you're feeling is printing your subconscious, and your subconscious is driving how you show up. And I think, so something you said that on one of your videos I was watching is this anxiety where you feel this sense of dis-ease. And that this comes from fixation on the future. So you're feeling this dis-ease, and then for you it manifested as your clients, because you fear that they were going to go. So what happened? That came out through your actions, the things you said subconsciously. That's what manifested. But you said, so internal peace is what we are really craving, but we can only ever be peaceful now. The future does not exist. It is a construct. We make it all up. If you're always searching for peace in the future, you'll just push it further away. How can people work on their relationship with the present moment? And what even is that, in your opinion?
Well, the present moment is all there is. So if you really understand that, there's this moment, and then there's this moment, and then there's this moment. That's all there is.
Yeah.
Right? The future is not guaranteed. I think everything could end in an instant. We don't know. We assume it will be fine based on our past experience, but we actually have no idea. We just we just have that part of the brain otherwise we'd just be going crazy all the time, right? We need that, otherwise, So if the present moment is all that exists, then everything else is the unknown. Everything that we want in life, those desires, all exist in the unknown. So we're usually very scared of the unknown because we don't know what's going to happen, because we're programmed to believe that. And our mind works that way to keep us safe because it's a survival mechanism. So we're in an interesting predicament because our mind is trying to keep us safe so we can survive, but we're already safe. So we're actually in a way having to work against that mind in certain times, right? Because it's negatively programmed on purpose. The reason why you have negative thoughts most of the time, it's not because you're a bad person or there's anything wrong with you. It's because that's how your mind works, and that's how everyone's mind works.
Yes.
So when we can understand these truths, then when you're sitting in any moment, whether you're meditating, whether you're in nature, whether you're just walking down the street, and you just have that realization that all there is now, all of those things in the future do not exist. The past is the past and it cannot be changed. Then it just brings a sense of peace, because anxiety, yes, is a byproduct of fixation on the future. Usually it's going to be a fixation of I'm not where I want to be yet, or I'm worried about X will happen. But when you're truly in the present moment, that is where all opportunity, all magic, that is where creation is born, right? It's from the now. And why is it that we're so attracted to people who are just living in the moment, right? Why is it that as a man, you see that girl and she's just living, she's just flowing, she doesn't seem to have a care in the world, she's doing some yoga or something, and you're like, wow, that is so attractive. It's because she's living in the now, right? And that's what we're all magnetized towards. And so again, it just comes, how do we get there? Going through the discomfort of allowing the things that are taking us away from the present moment to come up, aka those thoughts and feelings. And they work both ways, by the way. It's not just thoughts producing feelings. Feelings also produce thoughts. They work in both directions, okay? But here's the thing. When you do come to the present moment and you have a thought and then a feeling is produced, let's say it's, my business isn't going to be where I want it to be, and then you feel uncomfortable, you feel bad, you feel anxious, you feel a physical sensation in your body, okay? Instead of running away from that, if we can just allow that to come up and be fully felt through, that is when it loses its charge, right? And so now, think about it like this, right? I'll give you a perfect example. When was your first girlfriend that you had? How old were you?
I was 15.
15 years old.
Yes.
Okay. And then your most previous ex, how long ago was that?
About 2 years.
2 years. Yeah. Okay. So for everyone listening, let's say, imagine your first ever relationship and then imagine a more recent one, or take yourself back to, say with this more recent one, how you felt when you just broke up in those first weeks after, right? A lot more emotional charge. There's going to be a lot more emotions there, right? A lot more thoughts and feelings. So why is it the case that when you think back to your first girlfriend, you don't feel worried or anxious or all these things are coming up? It's because you've processed all of the emotion around that. So when you think the thought, when you think back to her, you visualize her in your head, you visualize you guys, hanging out. There's maybe if it's a nice feeling, you just smiled there, right? It can come all the way back to feeling just realizing it's a beautiful time, right?
Oh yeah.
So the feeling associated with that thought has gone from being one that was probably very painful in the moment when you did break up as a 15-year-old or however old you were boy, to now it's fully processed to where you feel wow, grateful. And so the only reason why we run away from thoughts is because they're so tightly attached to the negative, because there's no positive or negative feelings. We can get into that, but I'm just saying it for easy understanding at the moment. It's attached to the negative feeling, and so that's why we run away from it. Because if you thought, fuck, I'm scared that I'm going to get broken up with by this girl and she's going to cheat on me, and that's your biggest fear. She only wants me for the money. Like, these are things that guys will tell me who are successful entrepreneurs. Well, if you felt like sunshine and roses inside when you thought that, you wouldn't give a fuck, right?
Yes, an interesting perspective.
You know,
Yeah.
well, but that is the reality of what this work does.
Yeah.
Or at least you can feel neutral. At least you can feel neutral, right? So something can happen, and this is why I said to you when I had that that client thing that happened to me on the first day of the year.
Yeah.
And I said, you know, it felt deeply personal to me. And I was like, the gift there was a public, let's share of dissatisfaction with me personally, right? And I felt a lot of emotions come up around that. There's my gift, because I now know I have some things to internalize and work through. Had I fully reconciled everything, I would have just felt neutral at the very least, and it wouldn't have affected me. And so that is what we're moving towards, right? Because why? What's the point of that? Well, imagine how that helps you in day-to-day life. Imagine you're in a business negotiation, something big comes up, and you can just be cool, calm, and collected, right? The best state is always to be present, fairly neutral, so you can kind of go off to either way when needed, and just aware, right? That is the best state you can be in, right? Not emotionally reactive. How do you stop becoming emotionally reactive? You get used to feeling your emotions so that you understand them more, right? And that's how you know yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that, man.
Yeah.
I think it ties back to everything you said about kind of like building confidence and doing the hard things. It all ties in. It's like doing the hard things. And then when you're confident in yourself, you've proved you are who you say you are, you can then show up to that present moment with the confidence that, hey, I don't know how it's going to go, but all of those opportunities, all of these things that might come in that are potentially negative, I've got this. Like, you can show up to that moment with confidence and make the best decision and move forward. Surrender. Surrender to the present moment. That can be quite a feminine, and we're going to go maybe talk about that when you became a woman, which I think is a very open way to discuss all of this. Living in the present moment and surrendering to it. Okay, awesome. As a man, how does that look? Where does the action come in for you? And I think you're a very well integrated man, and a good role model, really good role model for masculinity. How does one balance that surrender to the, oh, this is amazing, great, because you can't, well, maybe you can, but you're there. Now there's some things that need doing. How does that work? How does that work?
The biggest misconception from a male perspective about surrender is that surrender means not doing anything. It's just a it's just not true.
Okay.
It's a more feminine quality when you think about surrender, like you said, right? So that's why it can bring up resistance as a man, because men are programmed by society to believe that there are certain things for women, and doing those womanly things makes you more womanly. But that only comes from a lack of confidence in yourself, because if you were truly confident in yourself, then you would have no problem dancing, crying in front of a woman or a man. I've cried in front of male best friends many times in the last year, and they only respect me more because of that, because we understand what that means. Now, you can cry from a victim perspective about how hard and sad life is. Sure, that's a different story. But if you can process something and sit with the actual pain of it, I've got respect for you all day long, because I know how painful that is. So when it comes to surrender is not easy. Surrender is not this thing where we just sit back and let life happen. Yeah, well, surrender for the most part is hard. So it's actually one of the most difficult pursuits you can go on as a man. So if you're sitting here thinking like, oh, this is for women, no man, it's tough, right? And again, what are you surrendering to? those internal thoughts and feelings that you have to allow to come up. Instead of running away from them or distracting, you're having to surrender to allowing them to actually come up. Like, that's facing stuff head on. That is the most masculine thing you could actually do. Is it masculine to run away from your thoughts and feelings and avoid? No. What woman's going to respect that? Now, is there a time? It's nuanced though, because is there a time and place to just say, I got to get shit done. We're climbing a mountain. Yeah, you're upset. You're crying. You're gushing blood, but we're here. Yeah. We've got to get down. There's only one. We have to go down. Otherwise, we're going to live on this mountain? No, there's one option, right? So there are times, absolutely, as a man, where you just have to put all that shit to the side and get on with it. Yeah. And that's a lot of the time. That's a lot of the time. We just got shit to do. We're doing that. But there is also a time to face what's really going on and surrender to things. And it can look internally like I just described, or it can be external, right? Surrendering to the fact that, like you said, we don't know what's going to happen. And so where's a practical place that this can play out? How is this actually useful if you're, like, say, a business guy? Well, if you can say there's a great client you want to sign up. If you can be fully surrendered to the fact that you don't know for sure if he's going to sign up or not, then first of all, you're at peace about it, right? So you're going to be a more effective human being. Secondly, you're going to be more detached from it. And so the more detached you are from things, the more they draw towards you, because desire pushes away the things that you want, right? Which is always why there's the classic example of the guy who's just like super detached. You're a pretty detached guy, right? And you can see how that women find that so attractive, because there's no need. You're not showing that you need them. And so, of course, they want to be around you, right? It's the same thing in a business situation. The more detached you are, the more people are just going to want to come and work with you. So you go from having to just knock down doors and just constantly use physical exertion to make shit happen to just being good where you are whilst getting all the things done you need to get done. And things do become... It's just a better way of living. When people ask me, why did I go on this spiritual journey? I'm like, life is just better since going on it. As simply as that, my life's better. So it's like when people say, why did you start going to a Christian church this year? My life became significantly better. So why would I stop? Yeah. That's the reason.
Because I feel good.
Yeah.
God and...
But it's not even feeling good though. That's the thing. Like, it is feeling good. Don't get me wrong, but the goal isn't just to feel good, right? There's so much other stuff around it that I think gets lost. That is the real, like, fruit of doing this stuff.
I fully agree. I think there's something I've been thinking about recently that's given me a lot of peace. And everything you're talking about there is attractor energy. And so much of kind of this online business space, it's like, hey, send 3 million cold DMs every single day. And if you take that into the dating world, you'd be like, that guy is a creep. What's he doing? He's messaging all these girls. You'd be like...
Guys are doing that today, though.
Are they?
A lot of guys. Well, guys are like, I get 3 inbounds a week from guys who say, I will send 1,000 DMs a day for you to these women and I will optimize your dating profile. And I'm like, sure, but do I? Well, obviously I would never do that anyway, but like, even if I did, like, would I want the kind of woman who would respond to that anyway? Like, absolutely not, no.
You want them to have come in because this is the magic of it and this is the trust. And I've been really working on understanding the Tao, which I think for me has been a beautiful book this year to really piece together a lot of different things from lots of different aspects of spirituality, lots of different aspects from Christianity. I'm like, I can see how this all interweaves. And one of the biggest lessons for me this year is kind of around abundance. And to attract, your cup has to already be full. Now, if someone's in a tricky position, that can potentially feel difficult to feel. What do you mean feel abundance? Like, we've got shit to do. But like that feeling of scarcity, what's that going to produce? More scarcity. So one of the things that's given me a lot of peace this year is this idea that, of course, you're abundant because here you are right now. Everything you have ever needed to get to this moment, you've been given. It's worked out, hasn't it? It's all worked out. Whatever you needed, the right person, all these things have come in. The only difference is that you're not happy with it. You're putting excess importance, like you spoke about, pushing things further away. You're putting excess importance on things that aren't here right now. But what is here right now? What is here right now that you can feel abundant in? What is here right now that you can feel love in? And you realize, oh, hey, it's all here. And if I want more of it, I just need to go, oh yeah, look, I need to be grateful for what I have right now. Like, what are we doing? And I've definitely done this loads. It's like that thing where, we're something, be in the future. Okay, I'll do this now and that'll be in the future, will come in. It's like, it's here. It's here right now. And the proof is, because here you are, you've had everything you've ever needed. And here it is right now. And for me, that's kind of linked into that surrender as well. And getting rid of that excess importance on other things that aren't in my life at the moment. It's like, well, hey, this is great, and then more comes in because you're in that attractor energy of, hey, this is all great, everyone. And people, like you said, that girl who's doing yoga and she's in the present moment, you're like, hey, things are great here. And people are like, I want to feel good. I want to feel good. Can I have a bit of that? You're like, yeah, sure. Look at all this great shit going on. You want a bit of that? Curious if you've got any thoughts around that, or if you come across the Tao or any of that at all.
I haven't studied it in the way you have, but it's definitely very much in alignment with a lot of my understandings. And so are they in the Bible. This is the craziest thing I've started to understand as I've looked at religious textbooks, is this is all saying the exact same thing.
Yes.
And so it's been extremely interesting to see how all of this stuff really just does link back to the same thing. One thing I will say is that from a business perspective, I've really made those shifts this year. I was like, okay, I feel like I've done really well on this spiritual stuff. How can I practically integrate this into business? And so this was like a journey I've been on for the last year, figuring out how to restructure my whole life and business to those things that you just said, right? To be able to magnetize in instead of just pushing out, right? So I'll give you a practical example, right? I had this social media hate post made about me this morning. It's still a little raw because it was yesterday, right? And people were like, he's a scam. Yeah. Look, he's making these videos. He's this online guru.
Those are great videos, by the way. I love those videos,
man. Thank you, man. But I'll tell you one quick story of that. A realization I had as I was watching this in the gym yesterday, and I burst out laughing. I looked like a crazy guy sitting in the gym. And the reason I was laughing is because these guys, and a couple of them were competitors, were like, yeah, look, he's just living this lifestyle, pretending like he doesn't do any work, and he's just like, fuck this guy, UK mentality, all that and I burst out laughing because I was like, I used to look at online gurus exactly like that, and now I'm the online guru. And I sent a message to Jaden, who works with me, and I was like, man, I guess we're an online guru now. Let's go hard. Yeah. Let's piss them before. And the reason why they were so annoyed was because they'd seen me so many times. It was like, if anyone can relate to a guy like Ty Lopez, right? You see him with the Lamborghini ad, you just hate him. You just, it's a human instinct. He's a scam, you hate him, right? That's just a human reaction. And so circling this back to how did I integrate this into the business? Well, we used to send out a ton of DMs, right? People were taking screenshots of the DMs that my appointment set had sent them and being like, oh, well, he's obviously a scam because he sent me a DM, for example, right? I know how ridiculous it is, but this is the mentality of certain people. So it was really, I'm so far away from that it was like, whoa, okay, cool. This is also where people are at. And so a few months ago, I changed my whole business model. It used to be so three-dimensional, so complex, okay, we do this much outreach, we email, we DM, we, have a sales team, we have this big operation going, here's all the stuff we're doing, and we just put input and we get stuff back, and that's how the business runs in a very three-dimensional way. And then I thought to myself, well, all of this internal work that I'm doing, it's very much, you could describe five-dimensional, right? It's frequency-based. It's where you get into the spiritual, energetic stuff, right? So I was like, how can I physically apply this to the business? And is that even possible? Well, I was like, well, in a way I already am, because when I do the work, the business is a reflection of me. So that does like when you do this work, your life does just restructure itself around you. But then I was like, what physically can I do? So I was like, okay, instead of doing all these DMs, what if we just like start creating like a profile and a brand for people to just want to come with us? What if I start, like they do in the coaching industry, because I run an agency, what if we just ran it like that and started attracting people to us? We went from having to run all these cold outreach with these crazy guarantees, attracting the wrong type of people with a really low sales conversion rate. These are all practical things, right? Very, very tech business stuff, with a really difficult delivery system, a big expensive team. I cut all of that. I let go of it. I surrendered to it. Okay. This is the letting go principle. So this is how the spiritual intertwines with the 3-dimensional. I then shifted that whole business model and said, okay, let's let go of everything. Let's simplify it. What do we actually need? We now have one profile on Instagram. We want one ad. People get to see my personality in that. They then get magnetized to want to work with us. They're bought into the vision. I don't have to sell them on any hard guarantee because they're already bought into it.
Yep.
The delivery is now me coaching, my team coaching them, so that they're now buying into my ideologies and mindset and all this mindset stuff I'm now teaching to them. They then get great results. That then gets recycled. And that's how the business model has physically changed as a result of this inner work. And I have to say, for the first time in years, it is a dream to run this business because I enjoy it every day. All I do is make some content. This is literally what I do. This is my day. Make some content, put it out, get on a few calls with people who are already bought in to work with me. They've even watched podcasts of being on and they're like, I really resonate with you because of this. And they want to work with us and they're happy and they're great clients. That is what that business now looks like. And it went from 10 plus sales calls a day, low conversion rate, bad client expectations. And it's shifted all the way to this where it now is a dream. So it's like, now I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, now my problem is I've got too much time. And that's a problem in itself because we need like, particularly for a guy like me and you need a bone to chew on. You need to be doing something. So now I'm like, this year, all right, people are asking about, I'm going to start sharing it with people. And I think this is like such a different way to run a business. You've got the 3D practical side, but you've also got this like 5-dimensional side to it where, like you said, that creator energy, you're attracting people in, and you embody that in a lot of ways. Because the reason I know you do without even looking into your business, because I can feel it with you. I can feel that draw to you. I can feel that you don't need me to be around you. And there is mutual value exchange that it's not like a tit for tat thing. It's very much just like, how can I help you? What are you doing? If I can see a way that I can help you, I'll just offer it, or if you ask me, I'll be happy to give. And it's that kind of relationship. And these are the kind of relationships that we can just have. Yeah. But it starts by, who are we creating first, doing this inner work?
Yes, bro. What, man? So much wisdom, and there's so much there. And anyone watching, run that business model. It's great.
That is the new guru business model 2024. You just got it. If you can do that. I've made videos for free breaking it down as well. I'm going to go more into the spiritual side of it, but it's not complicated. It's the whole principle is simplifying everything. It's making it simple, getting rid of everything.
I love it so much, man. And the ads, because I've sort of taught some of this as well. People go, oh yeah, but you're running ads. It's like, yes. And I was like, how does that work into like the attractor frame? Like, is that not pushing it down throats? It's like, one, you have to set it up in a certain way, but you're kind of just raising your hand. So like, take it back to dating. The girl's going to put herself in your orbit, but you've got to first of all become attractive. You've got to sort of raise your hand and be like, hey, I'm here. You can come and orbit around me. You have to like put that out there. For me, that's what the ads do. Yep. It's like, hey, look at this. And then people come in, know, like, and trust you, view your content like this guy's a G. And it's set up for you. You're not pushing.
Quick one from me, guys. If you are a modern creator looking to grow and scale your personal brand, you like the way I think and solve problems, you're looking to dial in your brand, positioning, and leverage authentic, no BS marketing that is aligned with your brand's vision and mission, and you're interested in working together more closely, please feel free to reach out on IG and we can discuss just that. Back to the episode.
You're a giver, and this is what you're saying.
I couldn't not laugh. I'm still very immature with all of this shit. I have like the humor of a child.
Bro, that's honestly, that's one of the things I really like about you, bro. Is like it's this and this is life, man. It's like, let's go deep and let's talk about this raw, deep spiritual stuff. Also, like boobs. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's life, man. It's like this. It's deep. It's serious, but also it's not serious at all.
I still spell boobies on the calculator upside down. So this is my actual framework, though. Seriously, for life. If I can do these 3 things, I'm living a great life. Have the wisdom of an old man.
Yes.
The humor of a child. And the body of a 21-year-old.
Ooh.
If I can do those 3 things, I'm living a fantastic life.
Yes, you
are.
And
if I'm ever out of balance on one of those things, I know exactly what I need to do. If I'm not laughing enough, right, fucking lighten up. Have some fun. If I'm, going too much on that side, right, time to like get some more development, some more wisdom.
Yeah.
If I'm grinding too hard, right, maybe I actually need to take care of myself a little bit more.
Yeah.
And those 3 things are what keep me in perfect balance.
Mate, I love that. And it's you're a giver. Don't laugh. But like I said, but it's exactly like you said. Giving, it's a big realization that I came to a couple of years ago. It's like, right, give more. How can you give more in every moment? And just ask, how can I be of value to someone right now, without the expectation of something else in return? And the thing is, Alex Hormozy talks about this all the time. When givers find each other, they're like, hey, let's carry on doing this because it works well. If you're surrounded by givers and you're continuing to give, they go, oh yeah, I did this for you. Oh, thanks. Fuck, that really helps. Thank you. And then, oh, here's this. And it's just this, you're in this world of abundance. Giving is the energy. And again, coming back to the Tao, it says like, all the Tao can do is give. It gives you everything. And to align with abundance, that's the action you take, is giving. Now, you often speak about, as a man, your purpose as a man is to serve. It is service. That's what kind of like an integrated masculine man is. How can people go about that, in your opinion? Like they look at like, oh, well, maybe I start an agency, or what's ground one? What's the first thing? It's like, how do I start being of service so that I can fulfill my sort of purpose as a man? Yeah. How can they go into that?
Yeah. This realization was more recent for me, actually, with being in service. I knew it was always a part of it, but I do believe it's probably like, for me, it's like the most important part of being a man is being in service. Because if you take it back to when you're in a tribe, who's the tribe leader? Well, it's the one who essentially has the most value to give, right? And I think a lot of people, if you're a guy, maybe you're young, you haven't built yourself up yet to this idea of a man who you think you want to be, you might think, well, I don't have much to give. I definitely felt like that. Like I just did a post on Instagram, and it was when I took my girlfriend to London, met my family, and I took them all out to the West End, which is like the theatre. And I remember that day so clearly because it was like my mum, my sister, and my girlfriend, and then my sister's little nephew, Teddy, who's like my little brother. So it was like the 3 most important women to me in my life were all there. And I got to just give this amazing experience to them and bring them together. And that was one of the best days of last year for me. Why? Because I was being in service as a man to the woman I care most about. And so people might look at that and go, well, that's what I need to do. But no, that's not. That's one example of service. And I think the reason why it can get misconstrued is because you've got guys like Iman Gadzhi buying his mum $4 million houses, and they think, well, that's what I need to do. Yeah. And it's like, while that is a great inspiration, and many men have been inspired by that, and power to the guy, nothing but respect for him. The other side to that is that guys think, well, I'm not like that, therefore I'm a piece of shit. So the most simple way to start this is just give what you've got. So if what you've got is you're walking down the street and you smile at an old lady and you genuinely make her day because no one smiled at her because she's not an attractive 21-year-old anymore, that is being in service, right? So it's just, how can you make somebody else's life just a little bit better? And you can start with things as small as that. It can be checking in with a friend. Here's a hack that I do. If I'm ever feeling down, I will just message 3 friends and say, hey, how you doing? How can I help you? How can I show up for you? I'll give them a call and just be like, what's going on? Yeah. And I know I'll be able to find some area where, even if it's just like a little thing, I can like lift them up a little bit. And that's the best thing I can do for myself because it fills me up, right? Yeah. So if you can just start with that,
Yeah.
Just that and it's like, it might sound simple and small, but like it builds this momentum, and it rewires the mind from being in scarcity to being in abundance.
Yeah.
And really, abundance is a feeling. You know, you can wait to feel abundant once you have the money in the bank account. That's the old way, right? The new way is you feel it now, and you then go and create from that state, and you get infinitely more than you could have possibly imagined, because you're embodying that feeling now. And this is everything. This is like how we ascend in consciousness as humanity, right? It's not waiting for the external to feel abundant, and it's not waiting to be in service once I have the big business. It's no, like, how can I be of service right now? You know, a big part of why I went down this whole spiritual route, a lot of it was from suffering. A lot of it was because I saw my family suffering. And I would see my mum in tears, crying, not knowing what to do. And I, as a teenager, I physically did not know what to do in that moment. That was so painful for me that I was motivated enough to say, all right, I need to become a man who can serve my mother and be there for her and support her emotionally in that moment. And so that's what service is. You know, you've always got something to give. Everyone's got something to give. Look at the Balinese people here. They've got the least and they give the most. And they're the happiest frigging people on planet Earth, right? Have you ever seen happier people than the Balinese people, right? Doesn't matter what's going on. They're in great moods because they're always in service.
Mate, it's so much wisdom there. And it's, you know, you touched on Iman, and he's an amazing character. What a beacon of what's possible. But obviously, like, you're right, it has that effect where a lot of guys, like, I'm 29 now, I'm like, I want a Patek. I want to give my mum a Patek. And, like, and it creates that, like, feeling of, like, oh, well, am I good enough? All of this stuff.
There's actually a solution to that. You just buy his course.
Buy his course.
Yeah. If anyone didn't know that.
He tells you how to do it.
Affiliate link in the description.
Yeah, we'll do that. You're welcome, man. But it's the same thing with what you said about abundance is with purpose as well. A lot of guys, I feel like, look, I'm really searching for my purpose. And I was here, I had a rough breakup, and I was like, right, what's my purpose? And I was just at ground zero again. I'd quit my 9-to-5 job, relationship literally immediately after that. I realized now it was perfect divine timing of like, yep, it's all going, because you're over here now, and it was perfect. But at the time I was like, all right, okay, all the change, all right, all at once. And I was like, and I was left with this, like, right, what am I up to then? God, what am I up to? What's my purpose? Where is it? Where am I going to find it? And the realization in that time, more and more, is like, you find it by living it. You find it by doing it. Okay, what action are you doing right now? I'm going to put purpose into it. Okay, this conversation, there's a purpose behind it, and I'm putting that purpose into it. Oh, you're now creating a life of purpose. Okay, you're now creating a life of purpose. And same, you know, with abundance, all of these things, it's that whole, I think it comes back to it. It's here, it's now. You can access it. I wanted to ask you, man, like, at the moment, moving forward, what's the thing that's getting you out of bed in the morning? What's the thing that's lighting you up? What's the thing which you feel like, you know, my teeth are in this at the moment? And because I know we've had a few conversations, and really curious about kind of the next steps for you. And what you're going to be giving.
Yeah, man. It's right now, my goals are around business and mission is my top focus right now. And this year, what I'm really excited to do is integrate all of this stuff we're talking about into business more, because I think through doing that, one, creates a life that I want and allows me to have impact, etc. But I think this is the future. What we're talking about here, and the way we're integrating like this spiritual lifestyle with what you create, I think this really is the future and how we make change. So what am I doing practically? I'm embodying those qualities in the day-to-day. So run our agency. I'm sharing these principles in that business. And as I'm doing that, really I always get the feedback whenever I meet someone who is spiritually very far along on their journey. Like I did a water blessing recently with a Manku, and he was like, everyone always says to me like, you're a healer, you're this type of person in another lifetime, whatever it is, like different flavors of it. And so I know that is my wider mission. And so the loop I was in prior to this realization was that like they're two separate things, right? And maybe if you're someone listening to this, you think, okay, you've got this thing you're doing, it's paying the bills, it's making the money, but maybe you feel like you have like something else to give inside of you, like something that might lead to deeper fulfillment. There might be like this fork in the road, like which one do I take? And I've been in this position in various loops for a long time, and what I realized is it's all the same thing. It's all the same thing. So what I'm most interested in doing is going deeper into embodying these qualities further, so that I can then share that with anyone around me, in anyone who interacts, whether it's a business or friendship or relationship, and just being such a freaking cheesy line, being the change you wish to see. You know, that is the
man Gandhi.
That's it for me at the moment. And yeah, setting myself, like I want to have a family in the next few years, you know, so like setting myself up for that, and just being able to provide more and just start embody. I was chatting with Hamza the other day, because he's preparing for fatherhood, and I was like, damn, that's such an inspiration. Like I guess I am as well. And like how can I be more intentional about that, right? Because life up until now has just been kind of about me, about business and girlfriend and stuff. And I was like, okay, this next chapter is actually about, am I acting in a way that I would want my son to see? And it just brings a little bit of a different flavor in those actions, because oftentimes it means doing things that are not easy. It means doing challenging things. It means acting in accordance with the highest version of myself. Because when you think, how would your son perceive this? It just gives you this like different accountability that I'm starting to do. So I'm starting to like align myself up more for fatherhood, and that means taking, you know, just different actions, and that's what's driving me.
It's awesome, man. And I think that the fatherhood one is something that I think it's going to seep into sort of this space and collective, you know, what is a conscious father? And I was having this conversation with this fantastic girl last couple of days, and we were talking about all sorts of things. We were talking about porn, masturbation, all of these things that most guys in the UK, myself included, from the age of 13, you suddenly have access to this wild west on the internet. We're like, what is all of this that is unbelievably stimulating and confusing? And one of the reasons I think that kind of the porn and and this is kind of in the frame of fatherhood, one of the reasons that porn and masturbation and kind of the casual sex is so damaging is because our life force that we have, you know, we have this life force. Okay, there's that first thing, right? I'm just wasting it in the bed sheets. Okay, that's not good. Second, let's say you have a girlfriend and she's on, you know, contraception, all of this stuff. Now, as a man, and I see a lot of this, I see people who get into relationships and then the man suddenly is 50% of who he was. He's like dull. He's like dulled. I've been there as well.
I've been there too, bro.
You've been there?
Oh, yeah, many times.
Been there, you're dulled, and you know your behaviors start to change. You've got the sex on tap, it all seems great, but you're dulled, the mission disappears. But I think a big part of that is because, let's say you are sleeping with your girlfriend, and you're not planning on having a family, that life force that should have been transmuted, because the reason you're having sex is to make a kid. That's why all the other animals do it. I know we do it for pleasure as well, but really it's life force, interchange, okay, to have a kid. But because of the contraception, that's being blocked. Now there's no kid. The kid would give you that drive. If your wife's pregnant, you'd keep the drive, you know? And then when you have the kid, you're going to get that drive back. But we're giving away this life force. And I know there's a lot of, you know, breathing techniques, and I'm sure you're well versed in how you can kind of control that anyway during sex, that it's not released. But in general, for kind of people who don't have access to that or haven't explored that, I think a lot of the dulling of men comes from this sex in relationships, and then there are no kids at the end of it. So you're left just like that was your whole thing as a man. Your provider, he drives you. I'm going to go out and get the food, and what do you need? And that's what gets you up in the morning. Whereas it's like this, it's just like this block we've put on ourselves, and it's dulling men, and then women feel unfulfilled because their man's now dull, and we have all these horrible relationships that are falling apart, and then that's causing trauma, and it's all this stuff. So yeah, kind of exploring sex myself at the moment, of what I actually think and how I want to approach it. But yeah, if there's anything wisdom you have there with kind of sex and how to approach that as a man consciously and control your desires, I'd love to know.
It's my most popular YouTube video.
Oh, no way.
It's about, and all my mates give me so much shit for this, because it's the benefits I received after semen retention for 75 days or something like that, right? And it's got like 10 times more views than any of my most other popular YouTube videos. So all my mates call me like the no-fap guy. Even I've made one YouTube video out of hundreds about it. So it's obviously, I know, because for me, so just to give context to this, I was addicted to porn as a teenager. I was that guy who would get with a lot of girls. There were countless occasions where I couldn't get an erection in an intimate situation due to being desensitized by porn. That is probably one of the most demasculating and demoralizing things you can feel as a man, at least for myself. So when I say all of this, it's coming from, that's where I was. And that's why it meant so much to me to say, okay, I need to figure this out. I was at a mastermind last summer now, in Portugal. Very successful business guys. We were sitting around the table. My girlfriend's actually with me. She's the only girl there because she was traveling with me. We got the special treatment. And somebody asked me about sex, and I said, yeah, well, obviously there's a difference between ejaculation and orgasm, right? And everyone just stopped talking mid-conversation, and all of their heads turned at me. And it was like a laser beam of focus. Everything just went quiet. Like, it was like the wind stopped. And everyone was like, what do you mean? And I was like, they're completely separate things. And then someone literally said in that moment, I will pay you $3,000 to teach me how to do that. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. There's a need for this, right? So for anybody who that's an awakening moment to listening, they are completely separate things. How do you think about this? Well, look at a woman. We understand that women can have multiple orgasms, right? And if that's another revelation for you for a man, you've got to do better. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I love that. But we understand that, right? Men are exactly the same, right? We can also experience multiple orgasm, right? So how do we... Okay, why would you even want to do that for a start, right? Because ejaculation's great, right? It feels awesome. But the problem with that is afterwards you lose all your friggin' motivation, right? Which is why if you're having casual sex, you put in all of this work and effort to find a woman, go out, attract her, bring her back, have sex, and then you just want her to leave by the end of it, right? If you're in that loop, that's a painful place to be. I was there. And maybe you enjoy doing that. And if you're at that stage of your life, fair enough. For me, it definitely wasn't anywhere near fulfilling. It was like trying to fill a black hole and void.
It's painful for the women as well.
Yeah.
That sense of rejection.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's probably the most damaging thing to society, particularly with hormonal birth control. Like, I'm super grateful. Like, Maggie actually, my girlfriend, coaches women to come off that. And she went through that whole journey herself, which is, if you're a woman or you're a guy with a woman on birth control, look it up, because it's creating masculine women, because it's dulling their hormones, and they're literally becoming more man-like, and they're being more attracted to feminine men. So if you're in a relationship where your girlfriend is on hormonal birth control, you as a man will unknowingly be becoming more feminine because of that, because she's going to be attracted to a more feminine man, and polarity has to be in balance. So that's useful to know. As a man, where do you even start with this? Great book that a girl recommended to me when I was like 15. No, I was a bit older than that. I was like 17, called The Multi-Orgasmic Man. Great name. Don't buy a used copy. Buy it on Kindle.
Okay.
Because I think it's out of print. And
Okay.
and basically what that teaches you to do is how to differentiate orgasm from ejaculation. And you can basically do it through breathing practices. If you've ever done it, you can just, maybe we can leave a link in the description for a practice, but essentially what you want to do is through the breath, just practice squeezing your perineum, which is like the area like around your balls and butt crack, and squeezing and drawing that energy. And imagine you're like sucking it like this up your spine and into your head. And what that's doing is that's physically moving the energy from from your balls to your head. And when you can do that, first of all, it prolongs how long you can have sex for. So I can effectively have sex for an unlimited amount of time because I can just literally just choose when I want to ejaculate, which is like, I say that now very nonchalantly, but I realize like that's a fun superpower because imagine how much better your sex is when you can just, you be in full control, right? What it also enables you to do as a man is experience multiple orgasms during sex, which magnifies the experience tenfold. And it all starts with the breathing, essentially. It can take some practice if it's brand new to you, because you essentially have to, you know, a good way to practice it is during sex is to just, when you're feeling yourself getting near the edge, just take a step back, focus on some deep breathing and draw that energy up. And the more you can do that, the more you can start to actually channel this energy around the body. And here's the thing, that sexual energy is one of the most potent variations of energy. So when, as a man, if you can stop giving that away and channel that inward, you now become like, you have superpowers because you can use that energy to create. Because think about it, right? Sexual energy creates life. There is no more powerful force than the force that creates physical human life. So imagine just how powerful that is if you're now using that yourself and you're using that energy. And I can feel it at times. Like I can feel, okay, I feel this energy. Okay, maybe I'm horny, whatever. I can go and have sex or not, or I can just draw it in. I can now bring it up and I can push that into the world. And that's a whole nother topic for another podcast, but you can start with that book. It's a great one. And life-changing.
That's
for sure.
the masculine superpower.
That's it, yeah.
Brother, I appreciate you so much. There's so much wisdom. I learned so much from listening to you. You've got such a good heart and open heart, and I love what you're sharing. People should check out your YouTube channel and absorb everything that you say. Where else can people find you? How can they get involved with anything you're doing, get closer to you?
Well, first of all, I just want to say, like, I reflect all of that back to you. To me, this is just getting to sit down and just have a fucking amazing conversation with a really good mate. So this has been such a blast. I'm grateful we got this time. And YouTube, Instagram, just send me a DM. It's me. If you want to have a chat, happy to help, or just have a good conversation with like-minded people.
You're awesome, man. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you, man.
Unbelievable.
God, that's some sweaty hands. Both got like slid off there.